Today we're going to make an original drink, Thursday's Child. For this drink, you're going to need a Nick and Nora glass, a jigger, a citrus juicer, a fine mesh strainer, a bar spoon, a julep strainer, a mixing glass, and optionally, an atomizer. This drink uses Mezcal, Singani, Coca Americano, grapefruit juice, absinthe, and a maraschino cherry for garnish. Sometimes when you create a drink, you have an inkling that something will work. You try it, and it's perfect. First try, right out the gate. Other times it's not so easy. It takes a lot of tinkering, adjustments, and trial and error to get it to work. That's what this one was like. It started off as a kind of Singani corpse reviver, but eventually evolved into something deeper and earthier. It ended up maintaining the same measurements, but the gin was replaced by Mezcal, the orange liqueur by Singani, and the lemon juice by grapefruit. This combination finally achieved the right balance, and the result was floral and vegetal, citrusy and herbal, with a touch of sweetness and a touch of bitterness. When tasting the drink, the adjective that really stood out was earthy. And before I had a name for the drink, I would privately refer to it as Earthy Kitt. It was sort of a placeholder until I thought of something more permanent. But that idea got stuck in my mind. It didn't help that at the time I was reading Eartha Kitt's first book, a memoir of her childhood called Thursday's Child. The title was an allusion to the nursery rhyme where the day of the week the child was born would determine her fate. And the child born on a Thursday will go far. Eartha Kitt started off about as far from international stardom as you can get. She was born penniless on a cotton plantation in South Carolina in the 1920s. And one of her earliest memories was of being abandoned by her mother. In the South at that time, she was too light-skinned for black folks and too dark for white folks. So when her mother wanted to start a life with her new husband, Eartha was dumped off at a neighboring farm, where she was beaten, and by age 7 she was picking 100 pounds of cotton for $1 a day. That was her life, until she was informally adopted by her aunt in Harlem. Eartha spent most of the Great Depression in the sink-or-swim deep end of New York. In her first year, she had to catch up on 3 years of school. She learned Spanish by hanging out with her Cuban friends in the Bronx, and would go on to learn 9 languages. But her aunt turned out to be abusive, both emotionally and physically, so teenage Eartha would run away from home. And to make ends meet, she got jobs as a school administrator, a seamstress, a factory worker, and a farmer upstate. Through a chance encounter with a dancer on the street, Eartha went in for an audition at the Katherine Dunham Dance School, more or less on impulse. Despite her only previous dance experience being messing around in Cuban dance halls, she won a scholarship to the school, and at age 15 she quit everything else to become a professional dancer. She traveled all over with the dance troupe, and when she was in Paris, she caught the eye of Orson Welles, who cast her as Helen of Troy in his stage production of Dr. Faustus.
Right now, I'd like you to meet the very, very wonderful and talented Miss Eartha Kitt.
She was introduced to the mainstream by the Broadway musical revue New Faces of 1952, where she performed several songs, including her famous Christmas hit, Santa Baby. The Broadway revue was turned into a movie, featuring sketches written by a young Mel Brooks. She went on to co-star in movies with Sidney Poitier, Sammy Davis Jr., and Nat King Cole. Despite not knowing who she was, Eartha successfully invited herself over for tea with Albert Einstein. She taught her friend, James Dean, how to dance. And she was Marilyn Monroe's lifeline in the wee hours of the morning, when the self-loathing and doubt were at their strongest. Her nickname Kitty, and her purring persona as a sex kitten, coalesced in the late 1960s when she replaced Julie Newmar as Catwoman in the Batman TV show. Eartha was an activist who felt compelled to give back. She had a strong moral compass. Her assertive personality had only one gear: full throttle. And when she was invited to a token ladies' luncheon at the White House in 1968, she didn't hold back on her views about the immorality of Vietnam. Lady Bird broke down in tears. LBJ hit the roof. He got the Secret Service and the CIA to dig up dirt on her. The result was a 3-page dossier, detailing and sensationalizing her sex life. Then magically, sponsors, shows, agencies, and opportunities started drying up. Being officially, unofficially under investigation put the brakes on her career in the States for about a decade. She worked overseas, and when she came back, she toured, released new albums, wrote more books, played Lady Eloise in Boomerang, and Yzma in Emperor's New Groove. She was a dancer, singer, actor, writer, sex symbol, activist, leader, and a superhero. So it's no wonder that Orson Welles described her as the most exciting woman in the world. And perhaps it's fitting that in 2008, the woman who was introduced to the world by A Christmas Song died on Christmas Day. It'll come as no surprise that year, Christmas was on a Thursday. Because for a Thursday's child who went as far as she did, what else could it have been? The drink is meant as a modest nod to the world's most exciting Thursday's child, if only as a pun for its flavor profile. Its base is split between Mezcal and Singani, the spirits that allied so well in The Faceless Man. Only the Mezcal in this one is meant to be of the non-smoky variety. Save the smoky Mezcals for other drinks. This one works best with the Mezcal that's sin humo, without smoke. If you weren't already aware of it, Singani is an eau de vie from the Bolivian Andes. That's like a fruity, floral pisco turned up to 11. It's a spirit that Bolivians have kept hidden for 500 years. But now brands like Crujero and Singani 63 are bringing it to the rest of the world. If you're dying to make this drink and can't get a hold of Singani, you can get in the ballpark by subbing in pisco. Just keep in mind that it's similar, but not the same. Singani is like watching a movie in the theater, while pisco is like watching it on your phone. As for the grapefruit, white grapefruit is going to be ideal. It's a little more mild than pink or red grapefruit. Pink will do in a pinch, but ideally you want to use white grapefruit in this one. Either way, the key is to juice it fresh. After a couple days, it develops a bitterness that kills the drink. For the quina, you'll want to use Coqui Americano. In recent years, it's become a common replacement for the original quinoa Lillet in James Bond's martini variation, the Vesper. However, if all you have on hand is Lillet, I'd suggest adding a bar spoon of tonic syrup. This will help bring back the right level of bitterness to the modern formula of Lillet. Because this drink uses citrus juice, conventional wisdom dictates that it should be shaken, not stirred. But shaking aerates the drink, and I prefer the silky, sensuous texture you get when the drink is stirred, which for this drink creates the perfect mouthfeel. Before I get started, I like to cut, squeeze, strain, and bottle my citrus juices. That way it's easier to pour when it comes time to measure. Next, we're going to fill up our atomizer. Measure out some absinthe. Unscrew the atomizer, pop in the funnel, and carefully pour in the absinthe. Make sure to use a new atomizer. Do not repurpose an old one that was used for perfume or Windex or something. Put the atomizer back together, and you're ready to go. Then chill the glass. Fill it with ice and water and set it aside. Next, we're going to measure 3/4 ounce of Mezcal. Add that to the mixing glass. Measure 3/4 ounce of Singani. Add that to the mixing glass. Measure 3/4 ounce of Coqui Americano. Add that to the mixing glass. Measure 3/4 ounce of grapefruit juice. Add that to the mixing glass. Add ice and stir it well to chill it down and give it some dilution. Dump the ice from your Nick and Nora glass. Then coat the glass with absinthe. This is where the atomizer comes in. If you don't have an atomizer, pour a little absinthe in your glass and swirl it around. Just enough to coat the inside of the glass. Discard the rest. With the atomizer, you want to give the inside of the glass 3 or 4 pumps. This will help conserve the costly bottle of absinthe and efficiently coat your glass. Scoop out a maraschino cherry and plop that in your glass. Then strain the contents of your mixing glass into your chilled cocktail glass. And there she is. Look at how far she's come. Thursday's child. Cheers. You can support this channel by clicking on the Patreon link here. Check out some more videos, be sure to subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For links, more info, and the printed recipe, check out the description below.